In the silence of the ship's mess hall, whispers spread like wildfire. "Has anyone seen Lena?" Lieutenant Thompson asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "Not since yesterday," replied Specialist Carter, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "She said she was going to check out that new section of the forest we scanned." Captain Reynolds entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. "All right, team, let's not panic. Lena's probably just taking her time. You know how she gets when she's exploring new terrain." But the concern in his voice was unmistakable. Lena was known for her curiosity, always eager to be the first to uncover the mysteries of the planets they surveyed. Yet she was also known for her punctuality and her constant check-ins. "We should have heard from her by now, Doctor," Hayes murmured, looking up from his tablet. "It's been over 24 hours. "All right," Reynolds said, trying to keep the tension from creeping into his voice. "We'll assemble a search party. Thompson, Carter, Hayes, you're with me. The rest of you, stay here and monitor communications. If Lena tries to contact us, I want to know immediately." As the team prepared to head out, the atmosphere was thick with unease. The planet's twin suns were setting, casting long shadows through the dense, alien foliage. The search party moved in a tight formation, their senses heightened, every rustle and distant cry putting them on edge. "Lena. Lena, can you hear us?" Thompson called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "Maybe she's just lost track of time," Carter said, trying to sound optimistic. "She could be studying some alien species or collecting samples." "Doctor." Hayes shook his head. "Even so, she would have checked in. Something's not right." They pushed deeper into the forest, the underbrush growing thicker and more tangled. Just as the last light of day began to fade, Carter's scanner beeped. "Over here," she said, her voice trembling. The team rushed to her side, their flashlights illuminating a small, trampled clearing. And there on the ground lay Lena's backpack, half buried in the dirt. "She was here," Reynolds said, picking up the pack and examining it. "But where did she go?" "Captain," over here Thompson called, his voice urgent. They hurried over to find Thompson standing at the edge of a small ravine. At the bottom, in the faint glow of the twilight, they saw her. Lena lay motionless, her eyes staring blankly at the sky. "No," Reynolds whispered, sliding down the slope to her side. "Doctor." Hayes was right behind him, already scanning her with his medical equipment. She's gone," Hayes said, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Captain." Carter knelt beside them, tears streaming down her face. What happened to her? Who could have done this? Reynolds looked around, his jaw set in grim determination. "We'll find out," he said, his voice low and filled with barely restrained fury. "And whoever did this will pay." Back on the ship, the mood was somber as the team processed the loss of Lena. The usually vibrant halls were eerily quiet, the only sounds being the occasional hushed conversation or the hum of the ship's systems. Captain Reynolds gathered everyone in the briefing room. The air was thick with grief and anger, each team member struggling to make sense of what had happened. "All right, everyone," Reynolds began, his voice steady but pained. "We need to understand what happened out there. Carter, I want you to go through Lena's helmet cam footage. Thompson, check the environmental scans for any anomalies. Hayes, you and I will conduct a full autopsy. We need answers." Carter nodded, her fingers already flying over the console as she accessed the footage. The room fell silent as the video began to play on the large screen. They watched as Lena wandered through the forest, her voice filled with awe as she described the alien flora and fauna. She was so excited, Carter whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. She loved discovering new things. The footage continued until Lena reached the outskirts of an alien village. The beings were unlike anything the team had encountered before, tall, with iridescent skin that shimmered in the light. Lena approached them cautiously, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. "She's trying to communicate," Thompson said, leaning forward. "Maybe they didn't understand." Suddenly, the aliens reacted violently. Bright flashes of light filled the screen as they attacked, and Lena's camera tumbled to the ground, capturing only fragments of the chaos. The video ended with the sounds of her agonized screams, then silence. "Those bastards," Reynolds muttered, his fists clenching. "They didn't even give her a chance." Thompson looked up from his scanner. "Captain, I found something." The environmental scans show traces of an unknown energy source near the village. It matches the signature of the weapons used on Lena. Good work, Thompson Reynolds said, his voice cold. Hayes, let's see what else we can learn from the autopsy. In the medbay, Doctor. Hayes worked methodically, his face a mask of concentration. Reynolds watched as Hayes scanned Lena's body, the readings displayed on a monitor. She suffered severe trauma from an energy-based weapon, Hayes reported. There are also signs of a neurotoxin. They didn't just kill her, they wanted to make sure she suffered. Reynolds' expression hardened. We'll make sure they suffer too. I won't let Lena's death go unanswered. Back in the briefing room, Carter finished analyzing the footage. Captain, I've identified the exact location of the village. We can be there in a few hours. Good, Reynolds replied. Prepare the team. We're going in hot and fast. They won't know what hit them. As the team geared up for the mission, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of sorrow and determination. Each member silently vowed to avenge their fallen comrade. Lena was one of us, Thompson said, securing his gear. We can't let them get away with this. We won't, Reynolds assured him, his voice steel. For Lena. With that, the team boarded the dropship, ready to confront the aliens who had taken their friend. As the ship descended toward the alien village, the team steeled themselves for the battle ahead, knowing that this mission was about more than revenge, it was about justice. The dropship's engines roared as it descended toward the alien village, the team tense with anticipation. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of grief and fury. Captain Reynolds stood at the front, his eyes scanning the faces of his crew. They were ready, fueled by a collective need for justice. As the ship landed, Reynolds addressed the team. Remember, we're here to find answers as well as deliver justice. Keep your eyes open and your weapons ready. The ramp lowered, and the team moved out, their boots crunching on the alien soil. The village lay ahead, eerily silent under the twin suns' light. Tall, iridescent figures moved about, unaware of the impending confrontation. Lena's last location is just ahead, Carter whispered, her eyes locked on her scanner. Stay sharp. The team moved stealthily through the village perimeter, their senses on high alert. The aliens were going about their daily activities, oblivious to the human presence. Look at them, Thompson growled, acting like nothing happened. Focus, Reynolds ordered. We need information first. They reached the center of the village where a group of aliens gathered around a strange device, pulsating with energy. Thompson's scanner beeped, confirming it as the source of the energy signatures they had detected. That's it, Thompson said. That device was used to attack Lena. Before they could react, one of the aliens noticed them. Its eyes widened, and it raised a long, slender arm, emitting a high-pitched signal. The village sprang to life, aliens scrambling in response. Here we go, Carter shouted, raising her weapon. The team opened fire, energy bolts cutting through the air. The aliens responded with their own weapons, beams of light searing through the village. Explosions rocked the ground as both sides exchanged fire. Take cover, Reynolds shouted, ducking behind a large, alien structure. As the battle raged, Carter managed to disable the pulsating device. Got it. That should weaken their weapons. Doctor. Hayes, taking cover beside her, noticed an alien trying to flee. Captain, we need a prisoner. We have to understand why they did this. Agreed, Reynolds said. Thompson, Carter with me. They flanked the fleeing alien, cornering it in a narrow alley. The creature raised its hands in surrender, its iridescent skin shimmering in the sunlight. Why did you kill her? Reynolds demanded, his voice cold and hard. Answer me. The alien made strange, musical sounds, its eyes wide with fear and confusion. Carter activated her translator device, hoping to bridge the language gap. Peaceful. We thought she was a threat, the translator finally conveyed. A threat, Thompson barked. She was unarmed, just exploring. The alien trembled, its form flickering. Intruders. Many dangers here. Did not recognize as human. Reynolds' expression darkened. You killed one of our own because of a mistake. The alien bowed its head, its shimmering skin dulling. Did not know. Sorry. Carter stepped forward. Captain, we need to bring it back to the ship. If they didn't recognize Lena as human, we need to understand why. This could be a bigger misunderstanding. Reynolds hesitated, his anger warring with his duty. Fine. But if it's lying, it won't live to regret it. They secured the alien and retreated to the dropship, the village now a smoldering ruin behind them. As they ascended back to their ship, the team exchanged grim looks. The battle had given them some answers, but also raised more questions. In the ship's hold, the alien sat in a containment field, its eyes scanning the humans with a mix of fear and curiosity. Doctor. Hayes began preliminary scans, while Carter monitored the translation device. Let's hope we can get to the bottom of this, Hayes said quietly. We will, Reynolds replied, his gaze fixed on the alien. For Lena. Back on the ship, the atmosphere was tense and solemn. The captured alien was held in a secure containment field, monitored closely by the crew. In the briefing room, Captain Reynolds and the team gathered around the central table, holographic displays illuminating their faces. All right, Reynolds began, his voice steady but filled with a barely controlled anger. We've confirmed that Lena was killed because these aliens thought she was a threat, but we need to ensure this never happens again. Doctor. Hayes, reviewing the preliminary scans of the alien, looked up. Captain, the alien's physiology and technology are unlike anything we've seen. We need to understand more about their perception systems. It's possible they have a way of identifying threats that's fundamentally different from ours. Carter nodded. We also need to learn why they saw Lena as a threat. Was it her behavior? Her equipment? Something about her appearance. Reynolds glanced at the alien through the observation window. We'll interrogate it thoroughly. In the meantime, we need to prepare for any further encounters. We can't risk another misunderstanding. Thompson leaned forward, his expression grim. We should hit them hard, Captain. Show them that attacking one of us has consequences. I understand your anger, Thompson Reynolds said. But we need to be smart about this. A full-scale retaliation could escalate things beyond control. We need a targeted strike, Carter suggested. Take out their key defenses, disable their ability to harm us, but leave the civilians untouched. Show them we're not here to wage war, but we won't tolerate being attacked. Hayes interjected, we should also send a message, a clear warning. Make it known that any further aggression will be met with decisive action. Reynolds nodded. Agreed. We'll gather all the intel we can from our prisoner first. Hayes, work with the alien. Try to understand their technology and perception systems. Carter, prepare our weapons and defense systems for a targeted strike. Thompson, you and I will plan the assault. As they broke to their tasks, Carter approached the containment field, her eyes meeting the alien's. Do you understand us? She asked, the translator device whirring softly. The alien's eyes flickered with understanding. Yes, understand. Good, Carter said, her tone firm. We need to know why you saw Lena as a threat. Explain. The alien hesitated, its iridescent skin shifting colors. Intruder. Unknown. Reaction protocol. Reaction protocol, Carter frowned. What does that mean? The alien struggled to articulate. Protocol. Detect unknown. Potential danger. Neutralize. Is there a way to communicate that we are not a threat? Carter pressed. A symbol, a signal. The alien's eyes widened. Yes, code, peaceful, misunderstanding. Carter relayed the information to Reynolds. Captain, they have a protocol for identifying threats. If we can crack it, we might prevent future incidents. Reynolds absorbed the information, his mind racing. Hayes, work with the alien to decode this protocol. We need to know how to communicate our non-hostile intentions. In the strategy room, Reynolds and Thompson pored over maps and schematics of the alien village. We target their communication arrays and weapon storage, Reynolds said. Minimize casualties, but make it clear we won't be trifled with. Thompson grunted in agreement. We'll hit them fast and hard. No hesitation. Hours later, the team reconvened. Hayes had made progress with the alien, learning more about their perception systems and threat protocols. Carter had the weapons ready, and Thompson had the strike plan mapped out. All right, Reynolds said, standing at the head of the table. We have our plan. We strike at dawn. Remember, this is about preventing further loss. For Lena and for our safety. The team dispersed, each member mentally preparing for the mission ahead. In the silence of his quarters, Reynolds stared out at the stars, the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders. This mission wasn't just about revenge, it was about protecting his crew and ensuring Lena's death wasn't in vain. Dawn broke over the alien planet, casting a cold, pale light across the landscape. The human team assembled in the dropship, each member focused and resolute. Captain Reynolds stood at the front, his expression hard as steel. "All right, everyone," Reynolds began, addressing his team. "This is it. We're going in fast and hitting their key points. Stay sharp, stick to your training, and watch each other's backs. We're doing this for Lena." The dropship's engines roared to life, and within minutes they were soaring over the dense forest toward the alien village. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was electric with tension and determination. Thompson checked his weapon one last time, his jaw set in grim resolve. "Remember the plan," Thompson said, his voice low but firm. "Disable their communication arrays and weapon storage. We want to send a message, not start a war." Carter nodded, her eyes fixed on the approaching village. "We go in, hit hard, and get out. No unnecessary risks." The dropship touched down just outside the village, and the ramp lowered with a hiss. The team moved out in a tight formation, their weapons at the ready. They had rehearsed this mission in their minds 100 times, but the reality was always more intense. As they approached the first target, a tall structure bristling with communication equipment, Reynolds signaled for the team to spread out. "Carter, take point. Thompson, cover our flank. Hayes, you're with me." Carter led the way, her movements precise and calculated. She placed a charge on the communication array, her fingers steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Charge set. 15 seconds. They retreated to a safe distance, and a muffled explosion rocked the ground as the array crumbled. Alien figures emerged from their homes, panic spreading through the village. "First target down," Reynolds said, his voice calm and authoritative. "Move to the weapon storage." They sprinted through the village, dodging sporadic energy blasts from the disoriented aliens. Thompson covered their advance, his weapon barking fire as he provided suppressive fire. "Keep moving. We're almost there." The weapon storage was a fortified building near the center of the village. Reynolds and Hayes approached from the rear, taking out the guards with silent precision. Carter and Thompson joined them, and together they breached the entrance. Inside, the room was filled with alien weapons, glowing ominously in the dim light. "Carter, set the charges," Reynolds ordered. "We don't want any of this falling into the wrong hands." As Carter worked, the team secured the perimeter, fending off any approaching aliens. Hayes scanned the room, his mind racing with the implications of the technology before them. "These weapons are more advanced than we thought. We need to gather as much data as we can before we blow it." Reynolds nodded. "Do it quickly. We don't have much time." Hayes activated his scanner, recording the details of the alien armaments while Carter finished placing the charges. "Charges set," she announced. 10 seconds. They retreated just as the storage room exploded in a fiery blaze, sending a shockwave through the village. The aliens' resistance faltered, their morale shattered by the loss of their primary defenses. "We need to fall back to the dropship," Reynolds commanded. "Thompson, take point." As they moved through the village, the alien leader, a tall figure with shimmering skin, stepped forward, holding up a hand in a gesture of surrender. "Wait, we surrender." Reynolds hesitated, his finger on the trigger. "Why should we trust you?" The alien's eyes were filled with desperation. "We didn't know. Didn't understand." "Peace." Carter translated the alien's words, her expression softening slightly. "Captain, they might genuinely want peace. We should consider this." Reynolds looked at his team, their faces mirroring his own conflicted emotions. "All right, stand down but stay alert." The alien leader stepped closer, lowering its weapon. "We did not wish for war. Misunderstanding led to tragedy. We seek to rectify this." Reynolds lowered his weapon but kept his guard up. "We'll talk. But know this, if you ever harm one of ours again, there won't be any mercy." The alien leader nodded, its iridescent skin shifting colors in what seemed to be a gesture of agreement. "Understood." As the team began to withdraw, a sense of cautious optimism mingled with their grief and anger. They had struck a blow and delivered a message, but now they faced the possibility of a different resolution, a fragile peace born from tragedy and understanding. Reynolds cast one last look at the alien village, now scarred by their assault. For Lena, he murmured, turning back to his team. Let's get out of here. The dropship ascended into the sky, leaving the smoldering village behind. As they returned to their ship, each team member contemplated the uncertain path ahead, their thoughts on the friend they had lost and the future they hoped to build. Back on the ship, the team gathered in the debriefing room, the tension palpable. Captain Reynolds stood at the front, looking over his crew, who were a mix of weary and resolute. "All right, everyone," Reynolds began, his voice steady. "We accomplished our mission and delivered a clear message. But we also learned that this conflict may have been a misunderstanding. We need to figure out our next steps." Dr. Hayes, his face drawn with fatigue, stepped forward. "The scans I took of their weaponry and technology are incredible. We need to analyze this data to understand their capabilities fully. It could help us prevent future conflicts." Carter nodded, her eyes still showing the remnants of adrenaline. "And we need to decode their perception protocols. If we can figure out how they identify threats, we can avoid triggering them again." Reynolds turned to the alien, now held in a more comfortable containment field. Its eyes watched them warily but with a hint of understanding. "You said this was a misunderstanding. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Will you help us?" The alien hesitated, then nodded. "We'll help. Need peace. No more death." Thompson, still bristling with barely controlled anger, crossed his arms. "How do we know we can trust you?" The alien's skin shimmered, reflecting the soft lights of the room. Trust. Difficult. But must try. Both sides suffered. Reynolds sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We have to start somewhere. Carter, work with the alien to decode their threat protocols. Hayes, analyze the weapon data. Thompson, coordinate with our defense systems. We need to be prepared for anything." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Reynolds lingered, looking out at the stars. The vast expanse of space seemed both beautiful and foreboding, a constant reminder of the unknown dangers that lurked beyond their ship. Hours turned into days as the crew worked tirelessly. Carter and the alien, now called Lyra, spent long hours in the lab, slowly bridging the gap between their species. Through a combination of gestures, holograms, and translated words, they began to understand how the aliens perceived threats and how to signal peaceful intentions. This symbol, Lyra explained one evening, pointing to a hologram of a softly glowing shape, means peace. Safe. Carter replicated the symbol on her tablet, nodding thoughtfully. "We'll incorporate this into our standard gear. Make sure it's visible during all missions." Dr. Hayes, meanwhile, pored over the alien weapon data. Their technology is advanced but has specific weaknesses. If we ever need to defend ourselves again, we'll know how to counter their weapons. Thompson, coordinating with the defense systems, ensured the ship was ready for any potential threats. "We're more secure now, Captain. If they try anything, we'll be ready." Reynolds gathered the team once more, the mood slightly lighter but still cautious. "We've made progress. Thanks to Lyra's help, we have a better understanding of how to communicate and avoid conflicts. But we can't let our guard down." Lyra stepped forward, its voice soft but clear. "We also learn. Must work together. Avoid more pain." Reynolds nodded. "Agreed. We'll send a message to their leaders proposing a meeting. It's time we talked about peace." As they prepared the message, the team felt a sense of cautious optimism. The road ahead was uncertain, but they had taken the first steps toward understanding and cooperation. A few days later, they received a response. The alien leaders agreed to a meeting, expressing regret for the misunderstanding and a desire for peaceful relations. Reynolds addressed the crew. "We've opened the door to peace. Let's make sure we walk through it with respect and caution. For Lena and for all of us." The meeting took place on neutral ground, with both sides coming together to discuss their differences and find common ground. It was a tense and delicate process, but slowly trust began to build. In the aftermath of their mission, the team reflected on their journey. They had lost a dear friend but had also gained valuable allies. The path to peace was fraught with challenges, but with understanding and cooperation, they hoped to build a future where such tragedies would never happen again. Reynolds stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. For Lena, he whispered, a promise to his fallen comrade and to the future they were striving to create. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter, a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of space.